episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on March the 5th, 2019. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, sitting pretty.
Well, definitely not Caffeine Rage, then.
On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing the games that we have played this week. THQ Nordic does an AMA on 8chan. Anthem joins our recurrent news cycle debacles with another issue. Devil May Cry 5 actually has an interesting deluxe edition. Dead or Alive 6 Season Pass is $93, and that's only the beginning. The Xbox Maverick console will be named the Xbox One S All Digital Edition. We'll have our weekly community corner with a brief discussion about game night once again, and if we get around to it this week, we will have a Steam Discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, well, not as tired as I was expecting because my day was cut short. Because, it turns out, the doctor could cancel on me.
They can do that. We do that sometimes. We cancel on people that have appointments with us.
Well, I'm pretty sure you don't have someone dying and you have to run off. Most likely.
No, that doesn't typically happen to the best of my knowledge. Unless it's me. I'm dying and have to run off somewhere. But
I think you were more carried.
I walked. Mostly. But yeah.
But yeah, I was expecting to have a full day and be tired and may have to delay the podcast. But yeah, it was waiting around for the taxi to show up and not get a call. The doctor has someone, well, they didn't say dying, but a floor emergency. Yeah, also known as someone fucking dying.
Yeah, someone's probably dying. So
I got rescheduled for a couple weeks, so that kind of threw a wrench into things because I was expecting this to be a very busy day and I had nothing else planned, so it was one of those things that, well, what do I do now?
Whatever it was that you did today. All the things.
Well, it was called clean up the place a little bit.
That's always good to do. I'm not super tired as of this moment. I had a really good day today, so feeling a bit energized just from that. A lot of positive vibes in my office today. Plus, I got a really good night's sleep last night. And Tuesday's my day where I go in late and sometimes stay late. So, got to sleep a little extra. So I'm doing pretty good today. I only had 2 cups of coffee to make it through my day instead of like the usual 4 or 5 that I have.
Sheesh.
So,
and here I thought I was caffeine rage.
I might have a coffee problem or a caffeine problem.
Yes.
But it's fine. It's fine. Nothing to see here. But,
And I'm the guy that drinks half a pot of coffee at the beginning of my day to get up and moving around.
Well,
and I'm the one that drinks the less of the coffee here.
But yeah, mine kind of, I go through, drink all day, just sort of steadily.
Yeah, see, mine's
a cup in the morning.
Mine's more of a kickstart.
Yeah, I'll drink a cup in the morning before I leave the house, and then a cup at work after I get there, and then a cup with lunch, and then a cup after lunch because I'm sleepy because I had food, and then a cup in the afternoon. Like, that's sort of an average day, and then when I'm tired, like, Thursdays is usually really bad because Star Wars RPG night keeps me up extra late. Even if I take a nap, I'm still tired. So those days I'll have like 6 or 7 cups of coffee to make it through, and then I come home and crash.
Sheesh.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm not like taking potentially years off my life by doing that. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh, no. All your other habits are already doing
that. Yeah. So this week is going to be doubly exhausting. I've got 2 back-to-back RPG sessions. Wednesday night we have some local friends who are coming to our house for dinner, and then we're going to play Star Wars RPG. And then we should be wrapping up right around the time that it's time to start weekly Star Wars RPG that we play with, or that I play with some community members. So I'm going to be very hoarse and tired on Thursday. But I'll deal with that problem when I get there.
You're going to have to get the digital voice box that some of the smokers have to use because your voice is just going to be gone otherwise.
When I was a little kid, I thought those were really cool, and then I got older and realized what they were, and then I was like, oh no, you poor people. Also, hello to any of the people who saw this Reddit post or the Reddit post I commented on earlier today and who wanted the link to the podcast. Welcome to your first episode post that.
We're sorry.
Which I didn't say anything about this to you earlier because I was just going to bring it up live. But I was just browsing on the gaming suggestions subreddit while I was eating lunch today. And there was someone who had posted asking for suggestions because he wanted to do a game club with his friend, and he was looking for games that, you know, met sort of certain criteria. And I was like, hey, my podcast does a monthly game club, and we have for years now. Here's just the entire list of every game we've ever played. And I put, you know, like a asterisk beside the games that sort of met his criteria the best. But I was like, just here's everything. And there were, I don't know, a half a dozen people who were like, this sounds interesting. What is your podcast? So, hello.
So in other words, we're going to see one spike and then nothing else, right?
Unless they share. Hey, if you enjoy it, share. Thanks. We love you. Yay, Reddit. I wasn't, like, the reason I didn't post a podcast initially, like, I wasn't just trying to advertise. I was just trying to be cool and be like, hey, I actually have this thing that you're looking for. Here's you a big list of games to go through and start on.
I wonder if we'll get lynched for what we said about Shadow of the Colossus.
I don't know. We'll see. They'd have to go back a little ways to find that episode, so maybe we'll be insulated for a while.
Yeah, but we also backed it between two games that we absolutely loved, or we sandwiched it between two games, so, you know, maybe we'll be safe. I have
Indeed.
the Game Club list up on my screen right now, looking at it.
Yeah.
We don't really play a lot of really bad games, do we?
Not really. There's been a few, and then we've had a couple, like Shadow of the Colossus, that we disliked that I think most people like. But
also, I think a lot of it is also a little bit of nostalgia there.
Yeah. Yeah. Genuinely bad games that have wound up on there.
Not really any. I mean, objectively, we could throw a couple under the bus just because of some game design.
Yeah.
Like Divinity Dragon Commander. That was one that, unless you're really into that particular subgenre of the RTS, is legitimately broken on the RTS side of things because you had to cheese it a lot. But it also was bolstered by its visual novel backend for the story. Depending on the person, you could also say Dwarf Fortress for the same reason that there's a lot of compelling gameplay there, to the fact that it actually started to trigger you.
Yeah.
But it also is buried under a really bad UI that needs to be updated at some point.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't see anything that's like 100% objectively bad. Because even like, you know, neither of us were super hot on Bomber Crew.
Well,
but it's not like a bad
on Bomber
game.
Crew just because we recently did it.
Yeah. But
maybe that would be something to do one time. Try to pick out a game that is so bad it's good and do it for a game club.
I could probably find a few.
But the question is, ones that I would still not want to kill you for suggesting.
Well, good luck on that one. I'm not sure how well that would go.
But speaking of games...
Indeed. Speaking of games, let's go talk about the games we played this week, Rach.
Well, I only had one this week. I got an alpha access to Breach, which kind of wish I didn't.
Okay. That doesn't sound good.
Oh, no. There's some interesting things in this game. Unfortunately, it's buried under a lot of bullshit. So, Breach is a multiplayer-based dungeon crawler it's primarily supposed to be a PvP environment, I think, but it doesn't have the community behind it to really support PvP matchmaking, so I was never able to actually get into a PvP matchup. But one of the interesting things is that it's an asymmetric dungeon crawler. So, sort of the same idea that was behind things like Evolve, where it's a team against a single person. But, in this case, it's a single person essentially playing Dungeon Master for a group going through a dungeon. Problem is that there's not a lot of content here already, and it's causing the community to up and leave. It shipped with 4 maps that each of them take 10 minutes tops to finish, and they're extremely repetitive. There's no reason to really go back to it unless you want to just get loot, which, yeah, that is kind of the point of a dungeon crawler, but there's no mixing up of things. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself on this. It does some other things that are kind of weird. For one, this is an RPG where you're not building up a character. It's taken the League of Legends approach, or the MOBA approach, where instead you have a central account and you're building up all the individual classes, and it already has, I would estimate, 50 different classes that you could build up. Try to go through the leveling process and eventually unlock individual skills to be able to kind of mix and match individual characters. But because this is going to be a free-to-play game, you see where this is going already, aren't you?
Yeah, massive grind. Buying pay to skip.
Buying individual classes. And each class has the MOBA style of 4 skills with the ultimate that charges up, sort of like Overwatch does. As you do damage or take damage or whatever, it builds up to a supposedly a very powerful ability. The starting classes, the ultimates are weak sauce, to say the least.
Okay.
Like, the one I spent the most time with was the Necromancer. Which you would think Necromancer, that would be a pretty cool class, right? No.
Okay. I was going to say possibly.
For some reason, Necromancer is melee focused.
That's weird. I would expect Necromancer to be magic based and have a lot of revives.
The Necromancer is so weird. So, all the classes have their primary weapons, which for the Necromancer is anime-sized Psy. Just giant Psy. But in order for the Necromancer to do much, they have to get a killing blow on something. And I kind of lied whenever I said characters had 4 skills. They actually have 5 because they have a secondary attack. And for the Necromancer, it's just sending out essentially it summons a minion that runs up and explodes. Alright? But the problem is that the Necromancer's ability takes so long to actually go through, it doesn't really do much because, by the time it gets there, it's either the enemy's dead or people have moved on to the next enemy and it's just not doing much. And the thing is, the Necromancer relies on killing blows. So they have to do the final bit of damage. That means that you're going in there and starting to hack away because that's the only way to do reliable damage. There is another ability that does direct damage, but it is the highlight of a lot of my problem with the game is it's on a timer. A lot of this game is on a timer. As in, individual portions of the dungeons, they're not really a dungeon crawl. It's more of a series of 4-on-1 encounters. So, the map I did the most was the Egypt map. So you go in, and I'm going to screw up the order of this, but it doesn't really matter. So you go in, and the first encounter may be, you need to collect these relics and get them to a point. a sort of a one-sided capture the flag, while the AI or the other player, depending on what you're playing, either PvP or PvE, is trying to stop you. And it's always that encounter. And depending on if you complete the counter fast enough, or you get an ability point that you could put in one of three choices, like you could have it where your dodge, you get an extra charge on your dodge, because dodges take charges for some reason in this game. Your health potions may also cleanse you have status effects, or that sort of thing. Some interesting things, but it requires you to win the encounter. If you lose the encounter, then the other side gets that ability point to put into a thing, which is interesting. But because there's no community behind this game, you're relying on the AI, and the AI is brain dead. No, I take that back. That implies that there is a brain in the AI. Because having to do this just myself with a bunch of bots, which, is a decent way to at least, get a feel for the game. If I wasn't playing the healer, the AI would just charge in and just hack away at the enemy and not try to dodge at all, it seemed. And this is a game that relies a lot on movement. It relies a lot on avoiding just massive damage soaks. And because the AI wasn't doing that, they were dying a lot. There is a revive mechanic, but it's pretty much your standard. Go up and dust them off, and they're get them back on their feet, and they're fine, right?
Hold F to revive.
Exactly. And also, for some reason, the frame rate would just go into 1/3 of what it was when it was out of combat. The particle engine for this game is highly inefficient, and of course, all the classes have very flashy moves. So yeah, there is a possibility of something interesting happening here, just because of the asymmetric nature of it. But it's just one of those things that I don't think there's going to be a community behind it to really foster the growth of the game, which is a bit disappointing, honestly, because the Void Demon, the enemy side, was actually very interesting, because you are essentially this floating ball of energy that cannot be attacked. But you have the ability to put down walls or put down spikes, try to freeze people, or possess enemies, and whenever you're possessing something, you deal extra damage. So you try to single out someone. And all the individual enemies, it's sort of like Dungeon Keeper, where individual enemies or individual units also has their own special abilities. So if you get good with it, you can actually do some interesting things with it. But the thing is, you also hit the odd skill ceilings where if that actually was one of the reasons that Evolved had so much problems, was that it all relied on the monster. If the monster was very good, then it was going to be a very, very tough match to try to get any progression with, because they knew the map, they knew how to handle the monster. It was just going to be absolute devastation. But on the flip side, if they didn't know how to handle things, it was going to be a cakewalk. Well, the same thing is a problem here, where if the Void Demon is really good, they'll just wreck face. So I'm not sure how you'd really balance that, or even if you could balance that. But yeah, it's interesting. But the thing is that it's just, there's so little content. The combat is so weak. The grind is real already. I'm trying to think of just how many matches it would take for just one class. I'm willing to say 15 or 20, and that's with the booster that you get to start a new account. Essentially just trying to get you a couple of medium difficulty classes, because all the ones that you start off with are essentially the easy starter. Baby's first Demon Slayer.
Right. I like that, Baby's First Demon Slayer.
So getting some of the more interesting classes is going to take some time, and honestly, with such little content and the fact that it repeats verbatim, this game would have really shined with a little bit of a roguelike element where individual challenges, since the map is essentially broken up into chunks, and it's not even just chunks. You're sealed into individual rooms, and the challenge has to be met in the timer, or you fail. And the Void Demon gets at the point. Or if you succeed, then you're able to allocate a point. Then there's a timer to move forward. Oh, yeah. Everything is on timers in this game. It's really quite hilarious, actually. Individual abilities are on timers. The moving forward in the dungeon is on a timer. The individual encounters are on a timer. The only thing that isn't on a timer was actually the boss fight, but the boss fight, I got such low FPS because so much, flashy abilities were going off. It was actually really, really difficult, not even counting the fact that, my allies, and I use allies in massive sarcasm quotes, just would not dodge out of the way. So, I was having flashbacks to some of my worst, WoW raids, No, dodge. No, don't go in the fire, you idiot. Ugh. And then the AI in Breach is also bad.
Yep, you mentioned that. So I would be interested in trying this out. I'm not gonna pay to get
I got an alpha key for this. I would definitely not suggest paying to get in, especially at the $10 price point. The fact that there's only 4 dungeons right now, and the fact that they repeat, this is one of those games that is so deeply flawed that I think it's going to take a complete rework of some of the mechanics to be able to fix. But the base idea is also sound. It's just the combat is rather anemic. It's based around too much like it tries to be too much like Overwatch, actually. Even though there's definitely elements of the MOBA genre with how they handled the class selection, and just the roster, it just feels like that they were making a MOBA game and they got confused and made a dungeon crawler somehow.
Yeah,
it has an interesting world where essentially, back in ancient times, magic was sealed away and the world was kind of split off, where essentially all the demonic races were sealed away. But something happened. But because they're tying all the story into these dungeons, I'm getting bits and pieces out of order. And, I'm sitting there having to do cliff notes, but then I realize I don't care, so I just say fuck it.
Yeah, you describing this kind of reminds me of that Fable game that was canceled that was asymmetrical, and there was it was 4 players who played 4 different classes going into, the dungeon, and the 5th person was the boss who controlled the dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, this has been done before. Dungeon Land was another example of this, where it was asymmetric. That was more ARPG Diablo-like, where one person was a dungeon master and they were throwing things at the oncoming heroes. It also failed. The asymmetric multiplayer subgenre multiplayer is, and I use the term subgenre very loosely in this, just as kind of a way to try to group these, is very difficult to balance, and because of that, you don't really see a lot of them succeed. As a matter of fact, only one I could think of that did even marginally well was Natural Selection 2. But that's not even close to this. That was asymmetric sides. And it wasn't a 4-on-1 or 3-on-1 or whatever on 1.
Yeah. Which I've played, and I like that game.
Left 4 Dead 2, or the Left 4 Dead series were also a good example of asymmetric that did really well. But, it also highlights the problem of skill ceilings, right?
Yeah. Which I didn't play Left 4 Dead 2 as much.
I only played co-op, and I never played the competitive.
Yeah, I played the competitive a couple times, but it was mostly co-op that I played. I didn't play it enough to really get a good, handle on it.
Yeah, it's just everything feels like it's in an extremely early alpha, but I don't see them talking about alpha anywhere on this page. And let's see, I just want to see how long they're. Let's see, how long will they be on early access? Because that's the big thing. Right now, the community, according to Steam charts, has sub 300 players.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Our goal for Breach is to have a successful free-to-play launch. To reach the goal, we are looking for backers to help the game finish development. Well, good luck with that. Essentially, they're looking at people buying in as a donation, and they give back $20 of currency, which, yeah. Let's see. We'll be in early access for as long as it takes to get to make this game feel great. So, in other words, years.
Forever.
Yeah. Another thing is that, and this kind of highlights a problem with combat in MMOs, is that the combat is literally just playing animations at one another. There's no weight or no oomph to combat, and that's more of a weakness of just MMO combat these days, where we expect more than just flashy things and a number popping up above an enemy, right?
Yeah, although I do like those things, flashy things and numbers.
Yeah, but maybe I'm a little bit spoiled by Warframe, where they have such solid sound design that you actually feel a weight to a lot of the weapons in that game. In this, there's just nothing. Spells outside of just the tanking the frame rate because they're inefficient, or at least inefficient on my system. Because I will say, it could just be my computer being a little bit on the ancient side, but there's also a lot of people complaining about the frame rate. But because there's just no weight and no enemies just feel like they ignore combat whatsoever, and also the allies just ignore any indications of move. It feels like there's just nothing to the combat whatsoever, which is also a little disappointing. It'd be interesting to see what this game is like with a full party, but I just was never able to get the matchmaking to match me up with anyone. Even in the hub, this shows you that maybe there's a problem with the community here. I saw in the central hub one other person ever.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, not a good sign.
I requested a key on key mailer. We'll see if I get one.
They were doing I'm not sure if they still have it, but on Alienware they had a Alienware Arena. They had a giveaway. That's where I got it. Let's see. I'm quickly going over to check. Yeah, they still have 2,700 keys left.
Sweet. You get a link? I would like one of them there links.
Sorry, I just have a Zelda.
Touche.
There you go.
I'll grab it. Maybe we can check it out this weekend or something.
All right.
Get key. Log in.
Remember password. Compelling content.
Yeah. Current password. I don't know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, that's the password on my luggage.
All right, let's try again. Get key. I am not a robot. Success. Just a Steam key, I presume.
Yeah.
Sweet. I will probably be cutting this out. I'm not even sure if this qualifies as good Franken content. Alright.
But in other words, at least on solo content, did not enjoy Breach. Even playing a healer, trying to, keep the AI somewhat not dead. everything just turns into a clusterfuck. And it's all, aiming heals. So, you know how lovely that is, right?
Extremely.
There's not a targeting system for allies. It's just, pointing their general direction and use an ability. And also, it doesn't really highlight, what your character has to do for some things, because the healer uses a rebuildable resource that is essentially a buff on them, but it doesn't say that anywhere. So, and the UI is a little bit shit for showing what buffs there's on you, because it's all just little itty bitty icons. So it was very difficult to figure out, okay, why is it not letting me heal and try to find it? And typically in these games, in most MMOs, where are the buffs on your screen?
They're underneath or beside, somewhere near your character icon.
Yes, which would be where?
Typically in the top left corner.
Or top right.
Yeah.
This, the icons are in the bottom center, and they're extremely tiny. At least in the build I played. To the point that I had to kind of squint to see, okay, is that an icon that I'm supposed to be keeping an eye on? Especially for the healer, which uses a depletable resource that regenerates over time. Not fun. But
yeah, I'm intrigued by this game, but it doesn't sound super great.
It's not great in its current form. That's what I'm saying, is that right now it's kind of shit. Especially since I'm looking at their roadmap here, which, they have one new map that just came out. In April to June, they have another new map that's due to come out. And then in July to September, they have another new map. So they're doing one map every 2 months. Not a great pace of content, honestly, with how short these maps are. And like I said, the grind is very real in this game. And of course it has, a premium currency.
Well, yeah, of course.
It has a split currency, so yeah.
Wouldn't expect it any other way.
Mm-hmm. Of course, right? Gotta obfuscate the just how much you're spending on things. And of course, the biggest thing is, or the biggest bunch of currency is, of course, $99, because of course it is.
Of course. Wouldn't expect anything less. Or more. Just precisely that. Alright. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and do my 3 games. My theme for this week is games my kid wanted to play with me. So the first thing I've got on here is Peggle. The original Peggle came out in 2006 or 2007.
Okay, a quick question for you.
Uh-huh.
Or more of a suggestion to any mobile developer out there. Why the hell is there not a big explosion of Peggle clones on mobile?
That's a good question.
Because I actively looked for it when I was like, Peggle would be fun on mobile. Nope. I can find a couple that are the same sort of idea, but nothing fully Peggle.
Yeah. I mean, Peggle is an excellent game. It's fairly simple. There are different designs of these little, Peggle dot things you have to hit.
That's Plinko from Price is Right.
Yeah. And, they make cool shapes and designs and things that go cute with the backgrounds for whatever, the level is that you're playing. There's orange, blue, green, and purple. The orange ones, you have to clear out all of them in order to win the stage if you're playing by yourself. The green one activates whatever character you're using, their special ability. Purple are worth bonus points. And then the blue ones just give you, points as you hit them. And the more orange ones you get, the higher the multiplier you get. Where it gets interesting is that each of the, I believe, 8 characters, there's either 8 or 10 different characters. They each have little special abilities. The first one that you get, which is a unicorn, his special ability is called Super Guide, and it shows you where your ball's going to go after the first bounce. So you can try and, set up some better shots. There's a dragon character that his special is a huge fireball that takes out a whole bunch of pegs, and it bounces off the bottom, so you have a chance to get like some ricochets and some better shots. There's the rabbit, which has got the most unpredictable power, but one of the best ones because he's like a magic rabbit. And he's got a spinner that hits different abilities. And you can get like the magic hat, which sort of acts like a magnet and sucks it towards pegs, and then gives you a big multiplier off of them. There's like a straight up points multiplier, and then he can randomly get other powers from the other ones. I mean, there's the rest of them. I'm not going to go into all of their abilities, but everything is very cute. The music is very cute.
It's an ode to joy.
It is. You get whenever you win, you get ode to joy that plays, and like rainbows shoot out, and you get like slow motion on your ball as it goes into the final, hit the final peg, and then if you clear the entire board, you get like a super peggle or something like that, and get like maximum multipliers. It's very fun and exciting and happy, and I like it, and my kid likes it. And I first showed it to him. I'm like, hey, check this out, and just showed him the single player stuff. But it's also got an offline multiplayer. I think it's called like head-to-head duel or battle or something like that. And you play on the same map, and you just take turns. Instead of getting 12 balls, each player gets 6, and they just take turns on the map or on the board. And whoever gets the highest score wins, and it keeps track of your score across how many games you play. So, you can compare overall scores at the end and how many wins each player got. And my kid loved it. And then he started playing it, and he's surprisingly pretty good at it. Like, he figured it out pretty quickly. Initially, he was just like, I'm going to shoot all the things. And then he's like, oh, it bounces, and I can get more. And I can score more points than Daddy if I, like, try really hard. And there's no complex, like, mechanics or anything. And, it's just... I play it on Xbox, so it's just use the left stick to control your aim and press A to shoot the ball. And that's it. There's a couple other things, like you can speed up time if you're trying to get something timed just perfectly. There's like an instant replay button where you can see the last shot. But otherwise, I mean, there's no special mechanics or anything. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. But it's a ton of fun. And if you're interested in this game, but you don't have a kid or someone that you feel like playing with, there's a huge amount of content. There's a, air quotes, story mode that basically takes you through all the characters, introduces you to them and all of their abilities. And then there is a shitload of challenge modes, starting with win with, only 5 balls. Like you get 5 balls and you have to clear the board. And then there's the next higher difficulty. It's like you only get 4 balls and you have to clear the board, and so on up until 1. There's score challenges where you have to get, there's a set of levels and you have to get like 100,000 points, which is really easy. And then 250,000, which is difficult but doable. And then, 500,000 and so on. So there's all of those. There's the multiplayer, local. There's online multiplayer, which still has some players who play it. Just like messing around. I was able to find a couple of games, but it's one of those things, like the people who are still around playing the original Peggle from 2000 whatever on
in
Xbox
other words, they're going to
are so good. You can get this on PC as well. I think there's a free version that exists that's only a small portion of the content. At least I know there used to be.
Yeah,
And
that's the thing, is that
Origin.
PopCap was kind of dissolved by EA.
Yeah.
They're in the graveyard.
Yeah. I know you can get it on Origin. It was given away for free at one point while they were doing their, whatever they called their free games program. I'm going to look right now. I can't imagine that it's very expensive if you wanted to buy it. Let's see. Peggle. Details. I can't see how much it costs on the store page because I own it? ? It just shows up in my game library.
$5.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's well worth $5. Easy. It's honestly like a game that I think would be worth like 20 or $25. Like, it's very simple, but it's very well crafted. There's a ton of content there, and it's loads of fun. Like, there's nothing really else to say about it. There's no complex story or anything like that. No complex mechanics. Just you.
Yeah, but it's not a battle royale, so nobody cares.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks like it may just be $2.50.
Shit, you buy that shit right now, everyone who's listening. You go buy Peggle for $2.50. It'll be the best $2.50 you've spent in a while. But yeah, I love that game. I love Peggle. It's great. My kid's gotten good enough that he can actually beat me sometimes, especially if I let him pick the characters, because he'll give me one of the bad ones and he'll pick one of the good ones, and that gives him enough of an edge that he can win, which is fine. I let him do it. The stuff you do for your kids, right? But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Love Peggle. Good game. If you don't own it, you should. Next game on my list is Lego Marvel Superheroes. I've had this one for a while. I put a link to Steam, but I've actually got it on Xbox. It's one of the Lego games, and specifically this one's Lego Marvel stuff. I mean, my kid likes superheroes. We watched Big Hero 6 this weekend, which he very much enjoys. And we've seen some of the Marvel animated stuff that's on Netflix or Amazon Prime or wherever it is. And I mean, he's been getting more and more into video games here lately. And I've had this for a while, and I've never really been interested in playing it myself. Like, some of the Lego games are pretty good, but some of them don't really connect with me. And just Lego Marvel didn't seem super interesting to me. But he found it, like, digging through the cabinet looking for something the other day, and he wanted to play it, so we got it out and loaded it up and waited for like 40 minutes for it to download like 17 updates and install them. We went and played Peggle while we waited for that, actually. And then we played, Lego Marvel Superheroes, which, I mean, it's a Lego game. If you've played any of the Lego games, you've basically played this. It goes through a huge roster of Marvel heroes and villains, each that have their own special abilities and powers, just like the other Lego games, Lego Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Batman, etc., etc. There's a story that takes place within the Marvel Universe, and this is the greater Marvel Universe, so not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For fans of the comics, it takes place in the 616 universe, and it is its own unique story that has not been pulled from any comics, at least not that I'm aware of. We played it for a few hours, got through the first few levels, and then my kid kind of got bored with it. But again, this is something that's great for kids. Very simple mechanics, stuff that's very easy. It's a very forgiving game. Even the puzzle mechanics are very simple. My kid could work out what to do. Because, he's not played a ton of games, and his hands are obviously very small, so sometimes he struggles to hold the big Xbox controller, or big for him. But he got on pretty well with it. And I'm sure we're going to play it some more.
I wonder if he would do better with a fight stick.
With a what?
A fighting stick.
Ah, maybe. I don't know. He likes to use my flight stick, so he probably would. He gets how to use it. So, and he likes to just sit in here and play with my HOTAS. Like if we're playing a game on any other game, like Train Mechanic Simulator or Transport Fever or whatever, he'll be like, "Can I sit in your lap and play with, he doesn't call it the HOTAS, but he's like, play with the throttle." That's what he calls it, is the throttle and joystick. I'll be like, "Sure." And he'll just sit there and he'll pretend to like drive or fly stuff. But we have played like Elite Dangerous, and he's used that before and things like that. So, he probably could do okay with a fight stick. He does fine with the Wiimotes, because they're, small enough to fit in his hands. But, there's not a ton to say about Lego Marvel Superheroes either. Like, all of my stuff is really short this week. It's a Lego game set in the Marvel Universe. It doesn't quite have the charm of some of the older Lego games, and the problem is that they added voices to them. The Lego games were much better when the Lego characters just kind of mimed and grunted. but everyone's fully voiced. You know, if you've seen any of the Marvel animated stuff, you'll recognize immediately at least some of the voice actors. You know, we obviously don't have all the characters unlocked, but I recognize some of them from Marvel animated stuff, so it's fine. If you like the Lego games and you like Marvel, and or you have kids that, you know, play games at your house, be it your own or just like nieces and nephews or whatever, it's not a bad game. It's pretty clean from what I could see. Nothing that made me like feel like, maybe my kid shouldn't be seeing this. So I guess that's a ringing, it's okay endorsement. And then last game on my list, Factorio. I put the specific version that I'm playing with if anyone's interested. But not a ton to say about this either. Obviously, I've talked about Factorio a million times on the podcast before, and maybe someday I'll go, if we ever decide to do it for Game Club, or if it ever comes out of early access, you know, discuss the final version in some depth. But also another game my kid has really gotten into. The draw for him was he walked in the other day when I was playing, and I was setting up a train network in my playthrough that I've been on, and he was like, "Ooh, a new train game." And I was like, "Well, not exactly. There's trains in this game." And he pulled up his chair, because he has a chair that's just for him in my office. And he sat down and he started talking to me about the game. And he's like, "Well, if it's not a train game, then what are the trains? You know, why are there trains? What do you do?" And so I walked him around and showed him my factory. And then there was an alien attack on one of my walls, so I went over to check that out and defend it. And he's like, "Ooh, there's aliens. Can you fight the aliens?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Boy, he's like, turning into a little Republican.
He was like, "Can you drive a train over the aliens?" And I was like, "Yeah, although that would be pretty difficult to set up on purpose." And he was like, "I want to drive a train over the aliens." So we spent like the next 2 hours like setting up like a railway network that went out to where a whole bunch of alien spawners were, and driving around in circles to run over aliens. And one of the things, I don't know exactly what version it came in, because the last time I played before this was version 15 point something that did not have artillery, but there's now artillery pieces, and you can get fixed artillery, and you can also get artillery wagons for your trains, so you can create battle trains now. So we drove around with an artillery wagon on a train and shot up aliens, and then also ran them over. And that turned into him like just being really interested. He's fascinated by the whole process of the game, like watching all the conveyor belts go and the different
the whole Rube Goldberg
things.
machine.
Yeah, he's really interested in all of that, just 'cause he's like, you know, I guess he finds it mesmerizing or whatever. But he asked me lots of questions about it, and I explained to him everything that I can in terms that he can understand, and I think he probably absorbs about half of that information, but that's pretty good for, you know, a kid that's not quite 5 yet. But we've had a lot of fun with it, and it's just something that we can sit here and he'll talk to me about stuff and beyond just the game. And it's really just been like a bonding vehicle for us. And every once in a while he'll get kind of bored and he'll be like, "Okay, Daddy, let's go fight some aliens, or let's build a new train that goes somewhere." I'm like, "All right, we'll do that." So then we'll go and we'll fight aliens or build a train. It has it has thoroughly derailed my game progress, but that's fine. I don't care. I'm having a good time with my kid, so I'll get those rockets up eventually. But, you know, like I said, I'm not really going to go too in depth onto anything. I've talked about Factorio many times before. But I mean, that's it. That's all 3 games that I played this week. Just nothing like super interesting or amazing. Peggle, definitely the better between Peggle and Lego Marvel Superheroes. And then Factorio, just because it's something my kid has become fascinated with. Just that experience being something I get to talk about and share as a dad makes me happy. So this is my platform to do that, and I'm going to do it, damn it. So, but yeah, I mean, that's it for me this week. So, yay. Those have been the games we've played.
Maybe we weren't too far off in time.
Nope. Not at all. Do you,
I think
always
I'm
ask
alright.
if you need a break. Okay. Then we will move on to the news. And our first news topic, THQ Nordic does an AMA on 8chan.
So, it turns out there's an 8chan.
Yep. So 8chan is the place where people go who think 4chan is just too
prudish.
PC. Yeah.
Which, for anyone that knows 4chan, is damn.
Yeah. But 8chan has had, it's been, let's see, what's the right verbiage on this? Google has delisted it from their search engine. Is that the right verbiage? Because of child pornography stuff being there?
I would call quarantine at this point.
Fair enough.
I mean,
Yeah,
in the
place...
defense of THQ, I did not know about 8chan. Did you know about 8chan?
I did not.
But in the condemnation of THQ, it's kind of your job of knowing what you're getting into when you're doing an AMA.
Yeah. This is not good any way you slice it. Because, I mean, basically the two ways you can look at this is they didn't realize what it was, which implies gross incompetence and negligence, or they did know, and they did this as a stunt on purpose, which is its own set of grossness. But instead of, like, that feels malicious. Like, we're gonna approach this place on purpose specifically to create a controversy which we can use for publicity.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that follows the old adage of there's no such thing as bad publicity. But I don't personally subscribe to that theory, and I don't think a lot of people in this sort of modern world do. Definitely the millennials are ruining advertising because they don't like, that's something that they don't like is negative publicity. So from that side, that might be a little bit complicated depending on how you subscribe to PR, what theory you subscribe to for PR. But either way you cut it, like, they did it on purpose to create controversy, which is infuriating, or they were grossly incompetent and didn't do their jobs.
Yeah, and it's just mind-boggling that it got to this point on either way, because, yeah, who would have thought that, going to a place where, Google says, okay, that's a bit much, considering some of the things Google allows on their search engine.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff you can find there that I'm like, I'm not sure that, I don't know about this.
Yeah. It's just mind-boggling that this even got to the point where, they went along with it. Considering that when they announced it on Twitter just beforehand, people were saying, maybe you don't want to go there. It's a nasty place. Let's not go there. But they went ahead anyway. And they were being asked by some rather despicable things that I don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This is a place that that considers 4chan too much of a prude. So, yeah. It's just mind-boggling. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, so the marketing director who set this up for THQ, his name was Philip Brock, and I had a quote here. Where is it?
Well, I wonder if he had to update his LinkedIn account to former THQ.
I don't think so. I don't think anything happened to him
yet,
unless something like just happened. But let's see. Here it is. So he said, he's quoted as saying in this article, "I personally agreed to this AMA without doing my proper due diligence to understand the history and controversy of the site. I do not condone child pornography, white supremacy, or racism in any shape or form."
Well, there's something that you don't expect to see from a head of public relations, huh?
Yeah.
It's just... it's hard to be mad at this just because it's so stupid. But at the same time that, this shouldn't come to this to begin with.
Yeah. we don't have it linked here. Jim Sterling did, I can't remember if it was just a video or if it was like a special Jimquisition where he discussed this. And he brought up that a lot of the developers that THQ Nordic publishes for, voiced a lot of anger and frustration at this.
Yeah, that's true.
Basically called out.
Yeah, THQ Nordic is a publisher essentially, or basically what Valve used to be, a publisher / game dev. And THQ Nordic is very loose on what they on the amount of control that they exhibit over their subsidiaries. So yeah, I could definitely see why people would be pissed.
Yeah, and I mean, even if like the thing that really gets me is like, even if you don't know what 8chan is, like I didn't know what 8chan was before this, but if I heard somebody say 8chan, I would think, is this related to 4chan? And then do a quick Google search, and I'm sure I would find the answer to that question and be like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going there. But again, that goes back to the very first point I made, which is either gross negligence.
Well, the Eurogamer article is talking about how some of their developers are very upset and are kind of distancing themselves away from THQ Nordic. Coffee Stain Studios been clear on the distinction from them from THQ Nordic. Whenever the developers that are under you are having to step away, that's a bad sign, right?
Yes, it is indeed. Because even EA and Activision don't really get that, but THQ Nordic has. Bethesda doesn't get that, but THQ Nordic has. Because they're dumb. Big old dummies. And yeah, I agree with what you said. Like, it's really hard to be mad at this just because how ridiculous and stupid it is. But at the same time, it is extremely frustrating. Mm-hmm. Like, just another thing where you can go, well, welcome to the modern AAA gaming space. Or, big budget, whatever gaming space.
Yeah, I would say THQ Nordic is a solid AA, or AA plus.
Welcome to the non-indie gaming space, although indie developers have certainly had their fair share of, getting in the shit about something.
I would just love to know what was going through this guy's head to accept this. No matter how professional they approached them. You poke around, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's a place that you're not familiar with. I mean, I would understand this a lot more if this was like some oddball subreddit. Yeah, because, they would probably see, oh, this is Reddit, so, it's fine. Even though Reddit is not really its own central thing. I mean, it is. It has a central set of rules, but it's more of a confederation of individual subreddits that each has their own thing and own focus. So I could see a lot easier them getting trapped by some sort of oddball subreddit that may not be what it appears at first, but 8chan?
Yeah.
And the fact that people are upset for them apologizing for this AMA in the first place and trying to distance themselves from this mistake by saying that, oh, well, it's your free speech. Well, you shouldn't have to apologize. The freedom of speech does not condone you being an asshole. And apologizing for a mistake is not saying that you're against free speech. At least in my opinion.
No, I agree with you on that.
But that's also, some people going the whole social justice warrior or anti-social justice warrior, depending on what side of the things you're going on, and that gets in its own messy place where people that are against SJWs think that they have to be assholes to do so, and that causes the other side to react even stronger. Then it's a back and forth, and I'm just sitting here in the middle thinking both sides are stupid.
Indeed. The thing I constantly point out to people is it's like, just because, at least, in the United States and in some other places that have, some sort of law or something that guarantees or protects free speech, like, freedom from speech doesn't mean freedom from consequence. Just that specifically, at least in the case of America, I'm not as familiar with other countries, but, that the government can't prosecute you for something that you say. But you're in a public space where other people have both their freedom of speech and the ability to tune you out, shut you down, throw you out.
Well, the classic example is shouting fire in a crowded theater. Yes, you have the freedom to do so, but you also are going to suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
And, the country has libel and slander laws as well at least in theory, to protect against untrue speech. But, that's trying to get a little bit political right now.
Indeed. Yeah. I don't really know if I have anything else to say about this. I feel like I've made my point very, very clear.
Yeah, it's just... It's stupid that it happened. It's stupid that this was allowed to happen. It's stupid that people got outraged over the apology that this happened.
Yeah.
This was like a black hole of stupidity. So shall we move on to another black hole of stupidity? I am right on my topics list this time around.
Indeed. So the next topic on the topic list, Anthem joins our recurrent news cycle debacle with another issue. With this issue being that it is bricking PS4 consoles.
I like the Jim Sterling
lots of crashes.
Title for this. Not even PlayStations want to play Anthem.
Oh, that's a good title. Yeah, I haven't seen the Jim Sterling video. You just found out about it when we were getting ready to record. But I have read through the articles and then that Reddit post where someone thinks that they know what is actually going on and the solution to the problem.
I didn't see the post. What's causing this?
So what this guy thinks, this is from the Reddit post, thinks that is actually happening is that not that it's bricking the console, but what it's doing is it's corrupting the PS4's file management system, which can be repaired from safe mode in the PS4. And the Reddit post goes into how this guy, like why he thinks that's what it is, and he's encountered this with another game before on PS4, and how to actually repair it. And he goes through some steps. It's pretty simple, but you just basically boot it into safe mode and then rebuild the database, which fixes the issue, at least according to the post.
And that's assuming that your console even loads up, because there's been reports of a full bricking where, it doesn't even load up.
Yeah.
But the fact that, it could corrupt your file system, I believe that is a bad thing.
That is definitely a bad thing.
And that should not be in a fully released game, let alone a game that's been released. What's the final tally on this? 4 or 5?
4 or 5 times?
Because, of course, this is an EA title, so, they have to produce the spreadsheet that lets you try to figure out just, when you're actually going to be able to play the game based on how much money you put out.
Yeah.
And then you have to read some tea leaves to get the final release date.
Yeah, so this initially started with just a lot of major, hard crashing, mostly on PS4. There are reports that it's happening less frequently or more sporadically on both Xbox One and PC. But PS4 experiencing it frequently. Then it developed to there were certain people reporting that it had bricked their consoles, going so far as some of them wouldn't even, they would power on, but they wouldn't actually boot up, which is where this guy came in and was like, actually, it's probably not bricked. It's probably this issue, boot it into safe mode, and then do the thing. But, there's no proof that that's, you'd have to go through every single one to figure out if that's the case or if it actually bricked any. So I'm content saying, it's probably bricked a few consoles. But that's pretty intense. I don't know of any other game that has done that.
I know that No Man's Sky was doing some hard crashes at one point.
Yeah, there's plenty of games on console now that repeatedly or regularly hard crash.
Yeah, welcome to the current gaming space where even if you buy after release, you're a beta tester.
Indeed. I mean, that's something that, sometimes...
I mean, a
PC
rare
anyways.
crash or, something going on, but this sounds pretty frequent. And I haven't seen anyone talk about an actual trigger that's causing this.
Yeah. Initial reports were thinking, it's crashing because it's overheating.
Nope.
That was a problem with the Xbox 360 in particular. Lots of games would push the console too hard. It would crash.
Honestly, the Xbox 360, it setting auto it would cook itself because it was way overpowered for the amount of heat dissipation that it had. It didn't have enough of an active cooling system in it, so it would eventually just cook itself.
Yeah, and the initial launch wave of the 360 had bad soldering, so it would get hot enough to melt its soldering.
Yeah, which there was some people talking about how it was a distinction on how they were trying to get a certain... it not labeled as a toy, so they were using a particular type of solder that wasn't as good. Or this is a lot of hearsay that I'm trying to remember from like a decade ago now. But essentially they were trying to use lead-free solder to try to get a certain label not applied to the console, if memory serves correctly. And it was substandard on top of the Xbox not having that good a heatsink for what it needed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of screwy.
So,
well, on the plus side, it could double as a hot plate.
Indeed. But so, yeah, I mean, this is... I've not heard of a game being this bad with this issue on console in this, I don't know, current generation, current whatever you want to call the odd console cycles that we're on. But I have seen my fair share of crashes when I used to play more Xbox One games, but nothing that ever, like, breaks the console in some way or another. Whether it's bricking or somehow corrupting the file structure or any of the actual data on the console itself. Like, I've never seen that on any game I've ever played before. And if it has happened before, I assume it's an extremely rare issue. Like this one is, this one's a big one. And even if Anthem had like a perfect launch, this would be something that would be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And Anthem did not have a perfect launch, to be polite. I almost said perfect lunch. Anthem did not have a perfect lunch.
Well, I'm pretty sure they did not have a perfect launch after their initial imperfect launch.
All of the devs had a perfect lunch when they, went and took one instead of working on the game. For it to have so many problems and to have taken like 1,800,000 years to develop.
Well, hey, you gotta cut Anthem a little bit of slack. This was their B team. Wait, this wasn't their B team? This is them actually trying?
Well, it's their A team, right? It's called Anthem. It starts with an A. It's their A team, right?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's about to be their D team because
they're done.
Well, I was going to go with dead because, honestly, I will be surprised if in a year BioWare still exists in its current form. And I hate to say that because of the pedigree BioWare has, but they're just having so many problems with Anthem. And EA has been so quick to pull the plug on more lucrative studios.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, I don't have high hopes for BioWare. I mean, I have hopes, but they feel very unfounded. They feel very like grasping at straws.
I would go with delusional at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I expect that they'll get this worked out because if they don't...
Well, that's kind of the space that modern gaming is now. You wait a couple years down the line, assuming that the community sticks with it. Then you wait for the Reddit post, blank game is actually good now.
Yeah. But I mean, I assume they'll get this worked out probably sooner rather than later, because if they don't, it's... To say that it's bad for them would be, I think, the biggest understatement of the year. But, yeah. I don't... It's not good, guys. It's not looking good. And I mean,
I would say that's an understatement.
Yeah. And, last week I said, like, I'm in on this game at some point. At some point, there'll be, like, someone saying that, like, now's the time to jump in. And, I still feel that way, because the thing is, it's like, I expected shit like this. I really did. Maybe not like this bad.
Well, it's a live service game, so
shit.
you gotta expect that the launch version's going to be bare bones. That's at best.
And so all of these issues don't really change my mind, because my mindset was like, well, I'll wait for him to deal with all of this crap, and then if the game still has, legs on it at some point, then I'll jump in. So, and also, like, this is kind of a fuck those dirty console peasants thing, but this is way worse on console than it is on PC. The crashing issues and stuff.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say the gameplay in general.
And I haven't seen any reports about it doing, like, extra bad things to the PC players
yet.
And I assume that they would be bitching even more, just, based on the sort of reputation of PC gamers versus console gamers. So,
what, you're saying PC gamers don't put up with shit?
Yeah, something like that. So, still in that holding pattern. I'll get there eventually. Or the game will die, and then it won't matter. I'll go play something else. I'll just go back and play Factorio or Battletech or one of the hundreds of games I have on Steam that I haven't played. I'm not going to be too broke up about it if it goes to shit before I get a chance to play it.
Yeah, I think you'll be more broke up over just the fact that it's Bioware that's going down.
Yeah.
Because
still like that demo, though. They put a good vertical slice together for that demo, in my opinion.
Well, they hooked a lot of people, it seemed.
Yeah. I'll always cherish that special moment before I sobered up. But
speaking of things that are sobering?
Indeed. Let me go back to the topics list, unless you're there and want to read it.
Devil May Cry 5 previs live-action cutscenes trailer. They are doing something interesting for the deluxe edition of the new Devil May Cry game. Something that's actually interesting.
Indeed.
For those who have not seen this, go to the show notes, vglpodcast.podbean.com, ding, and look at the video on this in the show notes. We'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait. Do, 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 do.
Good thing that even your kind of whatever you call that is so off key that I don't think we're going to get a copyright strike.
Nah.
Which is you're just bad.
So bad. I'm so bad.
You're so bad that Michael Jackson would just go, no, you can have that.
I'm touching my penis now.
Well, pretty much. When aren't you?
Fair play. But I was touching it like in a Michael Jackson style. I grabbed my crotch, put my other arm up in the air. Ow!
So should we actually get back on topic?
Yeah, let's do that.
A little bit of Frankie content, right? So
yeah,
this is actually a really, in my opinion, kind of cool thing that they're doing for the deluxe edition, where they're taking the kind of their notes that they were using to do the cutscenes for the game and sharing them with the community as a little bit of added feature, and having the deluxe edition have essentially a switch in it where you could go between their concept their concept notes, just acting out the cutscenes to try to figure out how to animate them, or the actual finished product. It's just such a neat idea that I've never seen anything quite like this. And it made me wish that more deluxe editions actually had something that was, deluxe, you know?
Yeah, special.
You were talking about, what was it, Halo 2, that has something sort of like this, but not really, with a Pixar animation of, or a Pixar-like animation of them taking their goofs and animating them.
I can't remember if it was Halo 2 or Halo 3 on the special edition bonus disc. There were outtakes from the voice acting, or God damn it, the voice recording sessions, and they animated those and stuck them on the bonus disc.
Yeah, which is why I call it Pixar-like, because Pixar does the same thing where they'll take just goofs, but they'll also intentionally do kind of just gags in their credits and animate those. So, yeah, that's why I called it that. So, it's kind of the same idea, but not really, because this is them taking what their notes are and sharing them. And it got me thinking, what would we actually like to see in a deluxe edition that isn't normally offered? And I kind of want to go back to what Valve used to do with the full voiced commentary. It's not something I want to see just in the deluxe edition, but if it had to be, fine. Do full voice commentary, or even better. And I'm blanking on the full motion game that had it. It was a Sega CD game where there was an option to have them essentially make fun of the entire game, a la Mystery Science Theater. I'd love to see something like that, but that also, that requires, I think, a little bit more jokey nature of their own content that I don't think a lot of major developers would want to do that. I think Devolver Digital would definitely be on board, though.
Yeah. Well, it takes more than that, too. It takes the right sense of humor and the right presence to be able to pull that off anyways.
And the right performance as well. But just commentary in general. Or something else I'd like to see is a recording of the voice actors doing their lines. Because a lot of times they are more of a performance, and they're trying to put more of their character into their actions as well, to giving the animators an idea of what to do whenever they're doing it for a motion picture. And I would imagine it would be sort of the same for a video game. So I would like to see something like that. It doesn't have to be the full voice session, but kind of the highlights.
Yeah, I've enjoyed those on like DVD special feature discs back when those used to be packed with good special features and not just trailers for other shit in like 3-minute segments.
Oh, don't forget the trailers before you actually get to the main menu to watch the movie.
Yeah. Woo. Never click fast play. Fast play gives you those unskippable trailers. I've learned that from all these stupid Disney DVDs from my kid. Never press fast play. Always just hit main menu. You can skip 5 minutes of bullshit. Fast play is so slow.
Fast play is too slow? What about ludicrous play?
The only thing fast play is good for is if you want to start the movie for your kid and just walk away. Just hit fast play.
Yeah, but then they're selling you selling your kid a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. I want to see all these movies, Daddy. No, not gonna buy those. But anyways, yeah. I like to see more making of stuff.
Sort of like how the no-clip documentaries are.
Yeah, I'd love to see more of that included in special editions of games. I've always been fascinated with that stuff. That was another thing that was in the Halo special editions, and I'm gonna might reference those a couple more times. I rarely bought special editions of games. I've always kind of been this way. Like, I don't give a shit about
same here
about that.
I think the last special edition I got was actually Oblivion, and that was on sale at the time.
Oh my god, I loved because they had like 2 DVDs.
Yeah, I don't.
In the special edition
I don't recall
what's making of the game.
I don't really remember much on the DVDs. I still have it.
Yeah, I don't, because I had the special edition for Xbox 360, and it's just, I don't know if it got lost or if I sold it when I transitioned to PC gaming or what, but I don't have that anymore, and it makes me sad. Because there was, I think it had 4 DVDs. I think there were 2 special features ones, and the game, and maybe one of them was the soundtrack and not the DVD.
Yeah, I do remember that one guy talking about, I really like the Undead, so I use them everywhere. Fuck you.
Um,
But I do have the
But I
coin
love
still
that
sitting on my
stuff.
desk.
I was waiting for you to tap it.
Oh, that requires me to move my phone because it's sitting behind my phone stand.
Fair enough. But yeah, I get the septum coin.
Mm-hmm.
But I love making of stuff. I just like to get into the nitty gritty. You know, the process. You know what goes into the creative process for this stuff. And I like I said, I've always been that way. I've
Even
enjoyed
if
watching
they
people do
talked about
special
some
features for years
of the
and-
cut stuff as well.
Yeah.
Especially on more like puzzle-oriented games or stuff like that, because that's one thing I really found interesting in the Portal commentary was them talking about how, well, we originally had this idea for the gels or this idea for the vacuum tubes actually didn't really do a lot. And they were talking about why they didn't do that, because it wasn't compelling gameplay. It was too linear. So they ended up cutting a lot of the content that they actually showed some of the trailers. And I just found it fascinating about them being honest about what's going on. But that also requires a level of transparency that you don't really see a lot anymore.
Yeah.
So that may also be a bit of a monkey wrench in this sort of thing, where a lot of this requires a lot of transparency, a lot of sharing a lot of stuff that some of these developers, they may not want to share, because some of it may be stuff that's worked into other games. It may be something for the sequel. It may just the people behind the scenes may not just want to be part of that, because that also these guys have to know that this video looks stupid and silly, but be comfortable enough that they're willing to put themselves out there, because that there's going to be all sorts of memes, all sorts of jokes made from this video, or from these cutscenes, I should say, because it's not an individual video. It's all the cutscenes in the game, all the setup, all the blocking essentially of it. And some of it is just so goofy of, a van attached to a stick and it's spinning around. And it's almost, childlike. You're just imagining all of them, making the rocket noises and everything as they're doing it. And it requires being very comfortable about releasing that sort of thing. And I think that's going to be something that, holds back a lot of possibly interesting content to be away from a Deluxe Edition. But I do applaud them for, and this is kind of getting back to the story, them making the Deluxe Edition deluxe and not being just, you get an alternate skin and that's it.
Yeah, that sort of thing is boring to me.
Yeah, and I think that's
just get some news.
And I think that's part of the reason why the Deluxe Editions have gotten so boring, is that it's not a lot of effort.
Yeah, typically it's just like some extra skins, maybe the soundtrack, some background images, stuff like that. And I mean, soundtracks are nice, but that's just become like a thing that every indie game and lots of, double and maybe even some AAA releases do. It's just like you can just get the soundtrack, which, the way I said that kind of makes me feel like I'm coming across like an asshole, but it's just like that's just a thing now. Like doesn't feel like something that should belong in a special edition.
Mm-hmm.
Or as like one of the special features or whatever.
Or if it's not just in the special edition, have a partial soundtrack as the base game and the full soundtrack as the deluxe.
Yeah.
Because, getting into the next thing, since we're talking about the deluxe editions and what, we expect in them, Dead or Alive is kind of doing the opposite of this, and their season pass is $93. And that's just the beginning. Yeah, you heard that right. And I should clarify on this before we get going. This is in US dollars. All right? 93 US.
Yeah.
Just letting that kind of sink in. The deluxe edition for them is, what did I say? What, it was 70 something?
Yeah, I think you said it was 79. whatever.
Yeah, it's just, what the fuck? All right?
Yeah. When did we see this trend really start? Like, I know season passes have been a thing for a little bit. But was it Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront, the EA, re-release in 2015 or whatever, that had the season pass that was like $60?
Oh, well, the one I remember is Fallout 4 actually upping the price. But that wasn't the first one that was, that price point. It was that they kind of realized, oh, we could get away with this. But let's see, just to clarify prices on this before we get too much further. Dead or Alive 6 with bonus, I might add. It's on the release, so these are 10% off. And unfortunately, because it's crossed out, it's a little hard to see. Let's just go with the sale price. Okay, the release price is $53.99 for Dead or Alive 6. The digital deluxe edition with bonus is $71.99. Normal price is right at $80. The season pass is $92.99, so $93. First of all, kind of odd price, isn't it?
I was going to say that seems kind of odd and arbitrary anyways, like $93. Like, why not just pick $95 or, hell, $99.95? Like, if we're going there, why not go all the way? Why leave it at a weird $93?
Yeah, it's just, it makes me wonder if there's if, like in Japan, it's a nice even number, and they're just doing a direct conversion of the price.
Maybe.
But yeah, fighting games are notorious about just nickel and diming people. But this is just full dollar billing.
$100 billing.
Oh well, almost. And the thing is that you don't get a lot in this. Here's what you get, all right? You get a wrestling costume for one character, a Techromancer gear for another character. That's the bonus content. So I think that's on everyone? Question mark? But the featured content is a Happy Wedding Costumes Volume 1, 13 costumes. Happy Wedding Costumes Volume 2, another 13 costumes. A Costume Pack Volume 1, that's also 13 costumes. Then you get Volume 2, which is also 13 costumes. Then you get a character, May. Then you get a debut costume for the new character, that's 5 costumes. Or a debut set. Then you get an additional character, and they don't even say what the additional character is. Then additional character debut costumes, and you get 5 costumes for them, and that's it. And the thing is that depending on who that character is, it may be a returning character that's locked behind a $100 price wall, and that's something that's notorious on the fighting game genre to begin with, is them taking a character out of a game and putting them in DLC for later.
Yep.
It's just, this DLC is just ludicrously priced.
Yeah. All of this is just
dumb.
Yes. It feels gross to me.
Like, I hesitate to use the term
try not
gross, just because of the connotation with it, but,
I know. I agree, but this does genuinely feel gross to me. Like it's being exploitative and manipulative beyond what typically this sort of thing does. It feels like they've, you know what $93 feels like to me? They did a whole bunch of testing and figured out that $93 is where they could get the most bang for their buck, so to speak.
This reminds me of a joke that was in the Drew Carey show where they did millions of dollars worth of testing to figure out that offering someone $600 feels like a lot of money.
Yeah. Actually, that's exactly what this feels like. Is they did a bunch of testing and figured out, okay, here's where we can get the most return on this. And, not as many people are going to buy it, but the price point is enough where the slightly lower volume or the lower sales expectations for the season pass would work out to make them more long-term. Plus, some of those people are going to drive to purchasing the individual DLCs, which would get them
assuming
that
that
way
they
as well.
even offer individual DLCs. That's the other thing, is that there's no promise that this is the only season pass, because this is marked Season Pass 1. And they also say, and I'm going to quote this verbatim, the game may contain content not appropriate for all, no wait, that's the other thing, but it's also not appropriate for all ages, but no, the downloadable content, including the season pass, will release separately on later dates. Please note I'm trying to find the proper note, because of course there's like a half a dozen notes on this thing.
Yeah.
All content, including the season pass, will also be sold separately. Please be aware of redundant purchases. You must purchase the characters before using these costumes. But the downloadable content, I'm trying to find where it actually says it, but on the news article they talked about how they may release DLC that is not part of the season pass later on. Which, it's kind of ridiculous spending, let's just call it about $150. It's not exactly, but close enough. And not get all the content in a game. Ridiculous, huh?
Yeah. Bullshit. Let's go beyond ridiculous. It's bullshit. I'm looking at the reviews on Steam. It's a pretty large amount of people giving it negative reviews based solely on the price point of the season pass, which I don't blame them. Oh, here's this person says the season pass is 103 Canadian dollars. So if you want to buy the air quotes, he puts it in quotes, full game, it's going to cost you nearly 200 Canadian. That's just too much. Too much for this. I could buy 20 games on Steam, 20 other games on a sale on Steam for $200, like easy, without even thinking about it. And if you were really conscious of what you were buying and, all that jazz, you could get...
okay, here it is. Here's the note that I was looking for. Downloadable content not included in the list may be released during the same period, but it will not be covered by the Season Pass 1. What the fuck? And this is also in the middle of a bunch of notes as well. This is the third note point. Fighting games is just in this unique position where they are so exploitative, where they bank on having certain characters that it's just disgusting to me. Sports games and fighting games are by far the worst on PC.
Yeah. For sure.
And just the fact that people bought this and are, actually positively reviewing it, even as a meme, is just mind-boggling.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are people who genuinely like the game because they really like the series, or they just really like fighting games in general. But I couldn't imagine giving this a positive review based on the business practices alone.
Yeah, but remember that we are the outliers in this. We are not the mainstream audience anymore. We're the enthusiast level.
This is very true. Very true.
And also, we're a lot older than the main demographic these days.
Yeah, which is weird because I'm not, even though I say I'm old all the time, I'm not actually old yet. But
no, you just have the decrepit part.
My body is broken.
So, because they're focused on younger players that are more willing to part with their money, that haven't learned the value of $1, or I guess the value of $100 these days, especially with this game. I think there's also that kind of, I just thought of something. This is the old Steve Martin joke of him talking about, I could just sell one ticket for $1 million and be set, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, money. The value of money. That's a topic I'm not going to wander off into.
Or lack thereof these days.
For many reasons. Yeah. I'm not going to go there.
Well, are you threatening to go political now?
No, I'm not threatening. I'm going to back away from the political ledge.
What, you don't want to talk about the fast food buffet again?
Nope. I'm good. Instead, I want to go talk about Xbox. Specifically, the Xbox Maverick console, as it's will be named the Xbox One S All Digital Edition. So this is interesting. With this is kind of, well, not kind of. This is how PC gaming has basically gone. It's almost 100% purely digital. And we've had sort of these little snippets of conversation before about the console space becoming more digital, trend for digital sales to go up while physical sales are going down. And at some point, I just sort of, kind of casually expected, at some point console gaming is going to be 100% digital. It'll get there eventually. And I wasn't expecting anyone to put this sort of product out there.
Mind you, this is rumored right now. This isn't 100% as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's fair.
But honestly, it's not that surprising, especially in the mid portion of a console cycle. Because a lot of the price of a console is tied up in the optical drive and everything that's required to run it. So cutting that out could be a way to really make a lot more profit per unit, because typically, it's not always nowadays, when a new console is out, it's a loss leader. And eventually, as manufacturing becomes more efficient and new revisions of the console go through, it becomes profitable. Well, if they, cut the price on this a little bit, but it's still, they're saving a lot more money by taking out the optical drive, then I could definitely see, this being a lot more, tempting, for Microsoft to do, and even before getting into the whole idea of going full digital, because they're pushing their subscription service with it. They're pushing their streaming service with it. They're pushing the Xbox store with it. So it definitely makes a lot of sense, especially if it's not for a mainstream gamer that could just go for all digital purchases and not have to worry about getting a physical version. But this is also going to be, what happens with game rentals with this thing, right?
Yeah. Well, if I was still a much larger console gamer, I would buy one of these in a heartbeat. My entire, the Xbox that we have is mostly a glorified Netflix machine at this point. Some interest from my kid wanted to play games. I've been playing it a little bit more. But everything that we own, all of our media, we have digital copies of. If we've got the physical media of something at all, we have a digital copy of it. I've ripped my entire music and video library, because I've got a mix of Blu-rays and DVDs. But I've got all of that ripped to digital. I've got a home server. I've got backups and copies. If we're going to watch something and it's not on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Hulu, we'll stream it from the server. And if for some reason there's a problem, just throw it on a flash drive and plug it in and play it that way. We almost never reach for discs anymore. So, if I was in the market for a new console, I'd buy this. It would work for me perfectly. You mentioned this and they say it in the article, but Microsoft has really been pushing their Xbox Game Pass, to keep people, in this engaged in that digital storefront that they have, basically, to keep people trying out their games, and participating more in their ecosystem, basically, because it gives you access to a bunch of different games that you can play for, I think it's like $10 a month or something like that if you pay monthly versus paying for like a year subscription or whatever. So if they're going to continue pushing towards an all digital space, it makes sense that they would do this. Like I said, I just didn't expect it this soon. Maybe within, on the next console, revision or generation or whatever, see it there, or, as like a one-off special edition. And again, like you said, this is just a rumor, but it seems like they're, gonna make this one of the main line ones instead of like a special edition, like one-off. How they'll do for like certain game releases or whatever, like a bundle or something, and you get like a themed console or whatever. Like, it makes more sense to me that this would be that, and they just have a limited run or something like that, as opposed to it being an actual edition of the console that they mass produce larger quantities of. But it will be interesting to see like what they actually do with the pricing, because they've all got Blu-ray drives in them. The Xbox Ones, they've all got Blu-ray drives, which are, I'm sure they get a bulk discount or whatever on the drives, but a consumer level one.
Yeah, especially I would imagine Microsoft is a little bit chafed to having to give money to Sony for this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like it would cost me like between $40 and $50 to get a halfway decent Blu-ray drive. I would assume that they would get some amount of discount on that. So just for easy math, let's say $25 plus whatever the fee is they have to pay Sony. I mean, that could cut a minimum of $30 out of the cost of every console.
Well, you're just thinking about the drive itself, let alone the hardware inside to run it, and they could also cut down on the power supply if they need to, because they're not actually spinning a physical disc. Because the physical drive takes up a fair amount of power.
Yeah. Also, they might be able to get away with less heat, like fewer heat sinks, or changing, simplifying their heat piping process. Maybe, saving a little bit on that too. Like a whole bunch of small things aside from the initial sort of, air quotes, large cost of the drive itself. But, you might be able to get $40 or $50 in, savings on the production cost of the box, which on a per unit basis is a lot of money that they save. So, how much of that do they pass on, or do they keep it the same price? Also, if it's going digital only, one would imagine that they would have to put a larger hard drive in it. The standard Xbox One still comes with a 500 gigabyte hard drive. I think the One X comes with
amazing.
1 terabyte.
No, that they still make 500 gigabyte hard drives these days.
Yeah, I know, right? I think the One X comes with a 1 terabyte. It might be a 2 terabyte hard drive. And I think the Xbox One S has a 1 terabyte hard drive. But if you're going all digital, I would assume that they would need at least a 1 terabyte drive, potentially 2.
Yeah.
But, if you're going all digital...
Or do you think that they'll do a RAID system where, it's multiple hard drives combining into one? That's probably asking a bit much for this particular version of it, but... Later on, I
can imagine them doing that, just because, like, if you have one drive, that it increases their chances for issues, for quality control. Which Microsoft, after the, we talked about the Xbox 360 earlier. Like, after that initial batch, the Xbox platform has been fairly stable in that respect. The Xbox One has not had major problems like that. Generally, they've got pretty good quality control, customer service, that sort of stuff. I imagine the RAID, using what would that be, a RAID 0? If you're just basically combining them into two...
Yeah, maybe I'm...
combining 2 drives to use as one.
Yeah, maybe I'm jumping the gun on them wanting to do something like that.
Honestly, I don't think I'd be comfortable with that in my console. I'm not even really comfortable about running a RAID 0 in my PC. I think it's RAID 0. I apologize, listeners, if I'm using the wrong term. Sometimes RAID can be confusing sometimes, depending on, what terminology and what sort of setup you're trying to run.
I'm trying to remember what it was. I saw one really good way to show the different type of RAID configurations, and it was using water coolers.
RAID 0. It's called volume striping.
Oh, and so here it is, I think. And it's a Reddit post. Here, I'll link it to you and let you see this because it's really quite amazing. Understanding RAID configs. Yeah, it's RAID 0, by the
way. Nice. I like that. RAID 1 cluster, RAID 5. Yeah. Cool. I mean, maybe I do want to play around with RAID at some point, but that's not something that like if I fuck it up or if there's a crash, I can't just readily go out and buy a bunch of new drives. So that's the main reason I haven't messed much with RAID before. But
and also hard drives are still coming down in price, or physical drives. At least last time I checked. They were up a little bit, but not much.
Yeah. I looked into getting one, or, was looking at PC building stuff a few weeks ago, and you can get a 1 terabyte drive from a very reputable brand easily under $100. Sales or whatever, you can get them for under 75 as well. So, storage space. I mean, storage space is coming down in everything. You can get 500 gigabyte plus SSDs for around $100 now too. So, we're getting there. I mean, now it's M.2.
Yeah, that's the new hotness.
The new hotness.
I
always love when we have those little moments.
Way too much time around you.
Yeah, I love those moments.
I feel unclean.
Soulmate, winky face.
Unclean.
But
send help and soap.
Anyways, back to the Xbox console. I think I like this idea. I've been all about all digital gaming for years. I mean, ever since the late 2000s, when you could first start getting, because I've said this before, I was a big console gamer back then. When you could first start getting digital games, I switched immediately and started buying all my games digitally. And that was back in, 2009, 2010, around that time period. And, once I moved into the PC gaming space, obviously, you go all digital.
Yeah, I was about to say,
there's really no other option.
Yeah, I was about to say, I can't think of the last game I actually physically put into my computer.
Yeah, aside from some old games, which I still have the actual discs for, the last time I bought a new game on disc was in the mid-2000s.
Now, the question is, did it have the CD key in you? Still, it was a digital version. Because that's the thing with PC is that even if you get the physical edition in sarcasm quotes, what was it? The latest Call of Duty, it was like a cardboard disc with the CD code printed on it?
Maybe, but also that was... Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain was that.
Or if you
been Call of Duty 2,
or if you actually get a disc, it's literally just the Steam installer or whatever storefront installer, and that's it.
Yeah. No, the last actual disc-based game I bought for a PC, because I did do some PC gaming in like the mid-2000s, was X3 Terran Conflict. When it was actually brand new, I bought it. I bought it on a whim at Best Buy or something, and it was like 4 DVDs worth of information.
Yeah, that's also the other thing about, especially with PC gaming, is that Blu-ray drives for PC is, at least last time I checked, it's been quite a while, kind of expensive because they're not a very, there's not a very big market for them, so, not a lot of people are producing them, so the prices go up.
You can get a low-speed Blu-ray drive for about $40 or $50. I've got one in my rig now. I think it's either a 4 or an 8x read speed for Blu-ray or for Blu-ray, and then it can also read CDs and
Oh,
DVDs.
I'm looking on Newegg right now.
I mean, granted, like I bought this thing a few years ago now, so prices could have changed, significantly in that time. And if, demand is not there, the price could go up.
Yeah, right now I'm looking. I would say a decent drive is still hovering around 100. There are cheaper options, but you're starting to get into some questionable territory.
Yeah.
Looking on Amazon, I would say about the same. Pioneer has... Oh, no, that's a Blu-ray player. Asus International Direct Blu-ray internal drive is $80. So, yeah, kind of still expensive for a physical medium that you're not going to use that often on PC.
Yeah, I almost never use it, but I bought it because, I ripped my digital library, and I was like, well, I've got some Blu-rays. I'll probably get some more Blu-rays at some point. I need to be able to do that, and it's the only Blu-ray drive we have in the whole house aside from the Xbox. So here's my exact, I think this is my exact one that I have, and it's $80 on Amazon right now. And when I bought it, it was about $50. That could have been a sale, but also I'm pretty sure that the costs were cheaper a few years ago. But that's the thing, like, demand goes down, so supply goes down, and then when you actually want one, they're more expensive because there's, fewer of them.
Yeah, of course now Amazon is just going to pepper me with Blu-ray drives in its emails to me. But it looks like
you looked at one once, so you must need to buy like 50 of them.
Or you bought one, so you need another 20.
Yeah,
it looks like a lot of these are actually external drives now, meant for more laptops, which that kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, because there are a lot of laptops that don't come with a disk drive at all either. So if you want optical media, you have to have an external player.
So that's a thing, it seems. Definitely more, cheaper than I was expecting, but still not a cheap thing to put into a PC. So, but then again, like we were saying, physical medium doesn't come up with PC that often outside of just backup. And these aren't writers; these are just readers. At least from what it looks like.
Well, the model that I have is a writer as well. Blu-ray, DVD, CD, read-write. I guess I just got a really good deal at the time.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Because I definitely only paid like $40 or $50 for it. I don't remember exactly. It's been... when did I build this initially? 3-4 years ago? And, have upgraded over time. But, yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say about it. It's an Xbox console, all digital. We'll see, if the rumors prove to be true, and if so, what they do with it.
Yeah, supposedly it's supposed to go on sale, on pre-orders next month. So, time is short to see if this actually comes to fruition or not.
Yeah, I'm optimistic's not the word I'm looking for.
You're definitely not optical.
No, I'm not optical. I like the idea of this. I don't expect it to do well in the current console market. I think that's still more, all digital in a console space. I think is still a bit too...
Well, also because it cuts into the used game market, and that's still a big thing on console.
Yeah, but I mean the big players, the big console manufacturers, I think would like that because it would force more, just more purchases directly from them. So, but I mean that is something that would hinder adoption of it because it's
considered
console players themselves.
Yeah, it's considered essentially a discount to be able to, fuel GameStop.
A disc count.
Ugh.
And with that, good night, folks. I just ruined it.
I'm pretty sure you ruined it earlier on.
Probably. Alrighty. Well, with that, we will skedaddle on over to Community Corner, which we didn't have any emails or tweets this week. I will say that Discord has been hopping. Our Discord's been hopping here lately. Lots of community participation over on Discord.
Yeah, which if you
do want to highlight.
Yeah, and if you wish to go over to the Discord, you can find a link on our webpage, vglpodcast.podbean.com.
Indeed. I do want to highlight that Jim3535, one of our community members, in case you don't go to Discord or are new here, posted the most recent, I think it's our most recent no-clip documentary about Astroneer, which I do intend to watch. Might talk about that next week or something, depending on, if you get to watch it too. But things like that, lots of conversation about random stuff. And then our community game night, which is on Monday nights, if you're new to the show or have just somehow managed to miss it. I unfortunately missed this week. I had something come up last minute that I had to take care of that was family related. But typically we pick a game and we all just hang out and play that game on Monday nights. The last couple of weeks we played DEF CON. I wasn't around, so I missed exactly what they did. I know that last night's game was supposed to be Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes. I think they played that for a little bit and then did something else, but I wasn't there to enforce the rules? ? I don't know. I try not to be like overbearing or anything, but I wasn't there last night. We haven't decided on a game for next week. I'm gonna try and be better, maybe at some point, about figuring this stuff out more ahead of time. But if you listen to this on the day it releases or fairly soon after that, you will have time to suggest a game, which you can do on Discord, and that's where you can find out any information about what we're doing.
Maybe you should also make a list for these.
I should. I used to have one when we did stream nights. But, I want this to be much more of a, democracy, because I used to pick all of the stream night games myself. And I want the community to be more involved in it. So I don't want to just, railroad everybody towards a game. Maybe I can make a list of games that would be good for it, like things like Tabletop Simulator and some other stuff like that a lot of people can participate in. And then, I'll put the games on them that we have played, come up with some other stuff. Otherwise, where can they connect with us, Rage?
We're skipping Discovery Queue completely again?
No. I was just giving you the chance to
Well, you usually just plow on ahead, but vglpodcast.podbean.com. You can email us, vglpodcast@gmail.com, or tweet to us, VGL Podcast, on the Twitter.
Indeed. So, it's been a few weeks, but how about we go for that theme song and do a Discovery Queue?
And, the first thing I get is Dead or Alive 6. No. But I did notice something that we missed before.
What did you notice?
The system requirements. They're all in Japanese? ? That should tell you something, huh?
Yeah.
I completely missed that before. That tells you how much care the Western market is getting in this game.
Oh no.
I
didn't have Steam a Steam page open, so I opened it, and on my homepage, X4 Foundations, Midweek Madness, 25% off, meaning that it's $37.
Yeah, that's not boding well. That just released, but I got something that looks somewhat interesting. On my second poll, Dawn of Man. Command a settlement of ancient humans, guide them through the ages of their struggle for survival. Hunt, gather, craft tools, fight, research new techs, and face the challenges of the environment that the environment will throw at you. Essentially, not quite caveman, but hunter-gatherer, early civilization meets banished. So, town simulator. Very interesting looking. It's not a great looking game graphics wise, but this is a town builder, so that kind of makes sense actually. Typically you're looking at it from kind of far away. The question is just, what type of scope are they going to go for this? Because, if they do a long stretch, then it's, going to be a little bit more difficult. But also, it looks like it released recently. I think this was in early access for a while. But, couple downvotes, but it looks like it's kind of middling reviews, so middling / positive. 83% actually. Just the top reviews are a little bit more middling on it. And I'm rambling a lot more on this than I usually do. But town builders are kind of my thing.
Yeah. I have seen this game somewhere, maybe on Keymailer.
I think I saw a early video of it, but then added to my wish list, obviously.
Gotcha. So I got one that looks interesting. Pray for the Gods, and the way pray is spelled is Praey. So you got both, like, praying as in, like, being in prayer, and pray as in, like...
Also known as Shadow of the Colossus.
The predator is chasing you. This does look basically exactly like a spiritual successor type game to Shadow of the Colossus. Looks like the game is available in early access now. A lot of the... Well, just reading through a couple of these reviews very quickly, the main comparison that I see these people making is that they seem to react in ways that make more sense. Like in Shadow of the Colossus, they would do a very basic try and shake you off thing, whereas like this guy's saying like I was climbing up his arm and he just decided to crush me like a bug, which was very surprising, but it makes perfect sense because he's a giant thing and I'm a little person. So, I mean, the art style is very, very beautiful. Hard to tell exactly how much of it is stylized versus just being more modern looking than Shadow of the Colossus. But, if it takes care of a lot of the problems that we had with Shadow of the Colossus, which was the bosses, the clunky controls and the bosses being fairly samey with how you dealt with them and kind of dopey. If it fixes those issues, it could be a game that would interest me. I think I might follow this and see how its development turns out.
Well, I got another one, and this is going to be one of the rare ones that seems to be a warning against Dirt Rally 2.0 or 2.0. And mostly because it is always online, it seems, based on a couple of reviews and people complaining about losing single-player career progress due to connectivity issues with RaceNet. So that's a severe warning sign immediately off the bat, let alone that I didn't really personally care for Dirt Rally because I'm not a big sim racer, and even though Dirt Rally isn't a hard sim, hard as in, a faithful sim, not as in difficulty, it's definitely more on the sim side than I was wanting, and it just did some things that kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
So seeing them put always online connectivity, supposedly, I mean, a lot of people are complaining about connection issues. So it looks like it's always online. If it's not, then it's saving to the cloud, which is just as bad, honestly. Just seeing. Looks like it may be save issues. I mean, considering one of the pinned posts on the forum is RaceNet connectivity update and clarification. To clarify, it's only the My Team career part of the game that requires a connection to RaceNet. You can play custom championships, RX championships, historic championships, and all parts of the other parts of the game without a connection. So yeah, it's online only. Fuck them.
Tell us how you really feel.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Okay. Well, I got another one that looks interesting. This game is called Business Magnate. Magnate? Is that how you say that? Magnate? Whatever.
Magnates, how do they work?
Tycoon business simulation game where it looks like you've got a bunch of different businesses or industries that you can choose from, create your products and sell them, with its hook seeming to be that you can have multiple companies at the same time doing different things. And it says the types of companies you can do, or type of products that you can create and sell include things like cars, rockets, phones, tanks, trucks, planes, computers, ships, and more. You get to design your own products, manage warehouses, offices, and production facilities. So kind of a a mix of a business sim and then a tycoon game. Very interesting. The type of thing that I get going for. It's got mixed reviews. It just released at the start of the month. Not super expensive though, $12. It's currently got a 10% discount for the launch discount. I'm interested. Might look into this a little bit more, see if it's something I want to pick up.
Well, I got another one pretty much off the bat. I'm still only halfway through my queue. Subnautica Below Zero. So, Frozen?
Let it go.
But essentially Subnautica with another theme to it, as far as I could tell. I'm not sure what they're doing different on this, outside of just new biomes and new, fish, obviously, new flora and fauna. It says a return to planet 4546b, so it looks like they're returning to the same planet, but a different area of it. But it is an early access, so the caveats apply. But if you loved Subnautica, then this may be for you immediately.
Yeah. So this looks interesting. Flotsam, the floating garbage town survival game. Scavenge what precious garbage you can from the ocean surface and grow your city while doing your best to survive in this colorful post-apocalyptic world. Reminds me of a cartoon version of Waterworld, which is a movie that falls into the so bad it's good category for me. So,
I've seen a couple games that toy around with this general idea. There was one space sim / survival game / town builder, which this is what kind of what this is, that took place in essentially a space junkyard, and you're welding together parts to try to build a colony. It wasn't a very good game from the reviews, but it's one of those concepts that works so well in sci-fi. I'm surprised that someone hasn't made it work so far in gaming. But then again, space survival is one of those genres that just hasn't really seen anything really take off, especially just space stations in general. It's just
I think I know
weird. I think it's just because of how enclosed things are with it, that it doesn't make for compelling gameplay.
Yeah, I think I know what game you're talking about. Like I feel like I've seen something like that before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just drawing a blank on the name of it, but I'm pretty sure I know what game you're talking about. But yeah.
Ooh, I'm
through my queue.
I got one more on mine, but I just got a Square Enix game that has very negative on a 16% review. I gotta see what they're saying. Poor optimization, terrible graphics. Couldn't even play the game due to constant crashes. Looks like it's just horribly optimized. Damn. Looks like the only thing left alive on this is the name of the game. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. I'll put it on here just to for completion's sake, because it's one of those things that it's a Square Enix game that's this poorly reviewed. I mean, look at this.
Oh my. But it's got mechs in it.
Yeah, graphically it doesn't look terrible. I mean, is it cutting edge? No, not really, but it's a brand new survival action shooter telling a human story of survival from a perspective of 3 different protagonists. I mean, it sounds interesting, but the thing is that if the game is constantly crashing and is so horribly optimized that it's getting 16% positive reviews, that's not a good sign. It looks like you're able to drive the mechs at some point and do some sort of battle with them.
I like mechs.
It looks like they're also doing the Fallout 4 method of dialogue, where you get a vague idea what they're going to say, but that's it. I'm leaving. Try to talk some sense in the father. Try to talk some sense in the daughter. And that's your options. Oh.
very, very descriptive options there. I like mechs.
Well, you're going to have to
Maybe
really like them to be able to play that, it seems. And what is this last one? It looks like some sort of rhythm game, so probably no. And that's me through my queue. I just had to add the Square Enix one because, damn, right?
Yeah. Oh, is this set in the Front Mission universe?
Is that a good thing or bad?
Yes. I mean, the Front Mission universe is awesome. I prefer the older games to the, at least what I'm aware of, as the most recent game, which took the turn-based mech combat game and turned it into a third-person action style game, more like Armored Core.
Well, they now turn it into a shitty survival game.
With lots of on-foot combat.
Because that's what you want in your mech game, right?
Absolutely. The more recent Front Mission one actually had some sections where you're on foot, but they were a very small portion of the game. Although that was in like 2011 or 12.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played the Front...
I thought Front Mission was dead.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played Front Mission.
Front Mission 4 was on PS2, and I have the ISO for it and play it every couple of years. I mean, it plays a lot like BattleTech in terms of, turn-based combat, pretty heavy focus on the customization of your mechs. Not quite the same level of customization as in
emulators,
BattleTech.
it may be one for our emulation game club list. Because we were talking about trying emulation again.
It has ran well in the past. It's been a while since I've checked it out. I don't know why it would run more poorly now, but you never know with changes and whatever. So I should dig it up and try it again and see how it plays. But yeah, it does have. I mean, it's a Japanese game, so there's a bit of grindiness to it. Anyways.
Spiky hair.
There's some spiky hair.
Spiky hair of the
like
mechs?
No.
No interest.
This tries to strike a little bit of a balance between what seems more air quotes realistic, but also has a lot of influence from mecha with how they move in like cutscenes and some of the designs. But it is a slower game that has a much larger focus on the strategy aspect as opposed to Twitch, anything, because it's turn-based. So there's 2 sets of characters that you play through, and as the story progresses, there's some intersecting moments and things like that. It's a fairly long game too. Partly because it does require you to grind in that Japanese game fashion. Like, I'm not sure, maybe if you were good enough, you could get through the game without doing any of the like combat training missions, which give you XP and money. And you could replay them an infinite amount of times, but I like it. I've played it several times over the years, and it's about time for another playthrough for me anyways. Although if it goes on the game club list and becomes potential, I would wait.
Yeah, well, I would say, depending if I can find it, Game Shark codes are going to be in play.
Nice.
And I'm just doing a quick search to see if there's there's fun codes, so I'm assuming that's money. So, yeah, I would say definitely Game Shark codes if it requires that much grinding.
Yeah, that would definitely help. It's probably between a 15 and a 20-hour game without the grinding, but all the grinding involved bumps it up closer to like 50 or 60 hours.
Yeah, there's definitely Game Shark codes for at least money. So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Something to look at later when we're not recording actual content.
Yeah, indeed. So do we want to do what we did last time where I was like, hey, tell me about the socials?
Yeah, let's keep the streamlined outro. Even though we got no feedback on it, it felt a lot better. So you could reach us once again, VGLpodcast@gmail.com, with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics, or just tweet them to us, VGL Podcast, on the Twitter. Or you could do so over on our website, VGLpodcast.podbean.com, which has been paid for by our lovely, lovely patrons. Patreon.com/VGLpodcast to learn more. But I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me over on YouTube, Gaming with Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR, and maybe sometime in the future, you can find me over on Twitch. That would be Caffeine Rage. And you are?
I have been Gaming Psychologist. You can find my YouTube content by searching for The Gaming Psychologist. You can find me on Twitter at JMA4707, and you can be my friend on Steam, JArthur4707.
And you can also give him the password for the week, which is, of course, Goose!
Did that actually show up in the actual episode, or was that just us, like, talking beforehand?
No, that showed up in the actual episode. Unless you cut it out.
Okay. I don't remember. That's been hours ago at this point.
I couldn't resist that one. I couldn't resist. But of course, the only problem with the streamlined outro is that you lose the part where you go first.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with change.
As long as it's gradual change, right?
Yeah.
Over many generations.
Many.
But our intro and outro music, since we don't talk about that on the streamlined one until the very end, is once again Kevin MacLeod's On the Ground. And the Discovery Cube music is Doobly Doo by the same artist. You can find his work at Incompetance.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.